Thanks, Matt, and welcome to Melbourne, to the magnificent Albert Park circuit for the first of two practice team to Formula One. And the Toyota, the Japanese giant manufacturer, has finally taken this step and joined the Formula One world, and it's the first car on track. As you see, from either Europe or wherever, that the car is not leaking fuel, not leaking water, not leaking oil. And the first glimpse we've had of the new Renault team, that was, of course, formerly Benetton, and with that uniquely wide-angle V10 engine, 110 degrees, an engine that I think teams, engine manufacturers in the future will maybe begin to follow that design philosophy. It's very wide, it allows the center of gravity to get very low on the car. It did cause the Benetton team last year some problems, but Renault have solved those problems, and I think Benetton, now Renault, are going to be the team that will certainly leap forward and try to take away that fourth place position from Sauber, who really did a great job last year. Well, the car's still filing back into the pits. And David Coulthard, I think, showing quiet confidence in all the interviews. He is under, I think, an element of pressure. He is aware of the speed of Kimi Räikkönen. But he's got a job to do, and that's to win the World Championship. He knows that youth, on the one hand, is a great asset, but winning championships and winning Grand Prix is more than that. You've got to have the experience. You've got to be able to understand how to win a motor race, and David Coulthard has done that certainly 11 times. He's won here in '97 for McLaren, and he would like to come back to the UK with the first win of the year here in Albert Park.
We don't want to run with this. Like nobody whatsoever. Very oversteering. Can't really stick the steering to the corners. Positive. You know, steer with no minus. Can't even. Now, when I go full throttle down the straight, the rear's gonna go everywhere. You think?
some of that is mechanical. We've got a reasonably stiff rear spring.
Well, listening to Juan Pablo Montoya, but really, I mean, he's only done a lap. How can you tell whether the car's understeer, oversteer? The circuit certainly is very slippery, and just too much throttle will cause the oversteer. And understeer on a green track is not unheard of, and particularly in these conditions where the track is damp really more than out and out wet. And tyres, wet weather tyres, such as all the teams are running, they don't really work as well as they do in pure wet conditions.
Very difficult on the straight, yeah, very difficult on the straight with the radio. Yeah, that's 11, 12, not too bad, not too bad.
Picked up by Flavio, went to wasn't such a great year last
Garno, very bad there, 13, 14, very bad. Last corner before the pit. Yeah, very good there, very good. It's just turn 13, 14, turn 3, turn 4, and not very good. Everywhere else, okay. How's the car, mate? Everything is running well. That's all. Just check the cars all off. Okay, will do. And the circuit? Anything special there? Circuit is fully wet, no puddles.
Well, pretty much everybody's come back into the pits. In fact, so far no one's even recorded a lap. Jacques Villeneuve, the last man on circuit, he's now also back into the pits. And I think in some ways, some of the drivers, they're almost expecting so much. They've been waiting for this Grand Prix to come around and did not want to see conditions like this. They wanted to get out and get a good day's running on Friday, get some solid information, some information about tyres, which way to go, whether to go with the prime or the option tyre. That has a big bearing, of course, on what you might do on Sunday for race strategy. But bearing in mind what took place last year, the majority of the runners did only a one-stop strategy. Whether that will be the case this year or not depends on how the tyre companies are going to treat the compounds, but also how the track surface reacts to those compounds. The two things are so important. And Michael Schumacher deciding after everybody else has been out, he's going to have a little exploratory lap as well. Remember, this is the 2001 Ferrari, but built up around new chassis. They've made some improvements to the chassis in terms of saving a little bit of weight. So while they are the last year's car, they're brand new cars, and they have found a little bit of extra weight saving, and the car will certainly be competitive. Looking at the weather once again, it's pretty stable, not very warm. That's going to take time for it to dry out. The humidity is still reasonably high, and it's frustrating for drivers. They can't really go out and do any solid wet weather running and find out what the car is like in wet weather conditions. It's really a question of waiting for this to dry out. But as long as they're all sitting in the pits, that situation isn't going to happen. There's the umbrella going up, and that's the sign that more rain is beginning to fall. So the thousands and thousands of people in the state of Victoria and around Australia who have come, and in particular to see this man, the only Australian Grand Prix driver racing here today. We're going to go to Peter Windsor down in the pit lane. He's speaking to somebody who's well known to racing fans, both on two wheels and four. That's Barry Sheene.
of k's an hour. Somebody doing 70, you flash them, they jump on their brakes. Terrible.
Great to see you, Barry. Have a great weekend.
Nice to see you, Pete.
Alan McNish back on track now for the second time, and this is going to be something a little bit more serious. He's going to go out and get a run of maybe 4 or 5 laps. Get a feel for the rhythm of the circuit, something he'll want to establish very quickly. He's not raced here before. He's run around the circuit. Well, that's really of little use because, and Alan almost getting off track up round 8 and 9, and that just shows you how easy it is, even on an out lap, to overcook it. Takumi Sato, the young Japanese driver who dominated British Formula 3 last year, again showing very strongly in testing with the Jordan team. Very brave young man. Has got a throttle pedal which is more like a switch. It's either off or on. He doesn't seem to have anything in between. Very brave. Potentially the greatest Japanese Grand Prix driver yet seen in Formula 1. Well, what are his feelings as he starts his Formula 1 career? Pretty excited, and certainly the way he's driving the Jordan, there's nothing to say that he's being prudent or hesitant. Now looking at the split times, Sato is currently quickest in both segments. Well, while we're watching Takuma Sato on the circuit, Peter Winge has been busy in the pit lane. He's got Mike Gascoigne from the Renault team. Chip.
Installation laps, I guess, but what's the feedback now?
I mean, obviously we want to go out and check the cars. I mean, the circuit it's quite dry in places, quite wet in others. There's some rivers running across the track, so we'll see what everyone does.
Jarno Trulli's first impressions? Jarno Trulli's first impressions?
I mean, everyone's pleased to get into it. I think we've had a good winter's testing, and it's good to be here, good to get into it. We'd like the weather to be a bit better. We don't come all the way to Australia to have it rain. We could have stayed at home for it to do that, but no, it's good to get on with it.
Great, well, best of luck. Thank you.
Well, Takumi Sato is certainly the fastest man on the track. He's the only man doing a flying lap, 1:56.562. And for the young Japanese driver, very cautious. This is where Michael Schumacher went off track last year, down in turn 6, through 7, through 8, flat out. As they come up to this difficult, you've got to brake early here. It's easy to overbrake. That gravel trap has seen many cars run through it. Once again, quickest, not in terms of time this time, but in terms of speed through that first segment. Personal best. In fact, now he's gone quickest through the second segment as well. So Sato comes up now to turn 13. Heavy braking down the gears into second gear. Just speed the power on, stay off the curbs when it's wet, but certainly ride them when it's dry. Through 14, really got to slow it down into 15. You've got to be neat and tidy around here, get the car straightened up as quickly as possible, because you want to maximize the speed out of 16. Again, staying off the curbs, and don't ride that curb on the exit, or it'll just throw you into a spin. 1:56.5 was his previous best. Comes across the start line, he's gone 1:48.4. So Takumi Sato really making a big impression in these very early laps of this 1 hour session. Giancarlo Fisichella is the only other man that's done a respectable time. Fisichella in the second of the Jordans, 1:59.673. And to some extent, really, it's all fairly academic as drivers are coming in and out of the pits. Currently only 6 drivers on track. You've got Fisichella. In fact, Pedro de la Rosa's now gone second quickest, Fisichella third, Alex Young fourth, Eddie Irvine fifth, and Bernoldi in sixth. Eddie Irvine had a really torrid time with this new Jaguar R3. They've been so disappointed with the car initially in testing. Team then lost Steve Nichols, he resigned, and they've really been struggling to regroup, and new aerodynamics in the car, new mechanical parts in the car. In the last test before they came out to Australia, they seemed to find pace. We have to see whether that pace can be confirmed. Well, Eddie Irvine's gone marginally quicker, he's gone second quickest, but he's some 5.5 seconds slower than Sato. There you can see the respective speeds. Irvine down into turn 3. Again, a lot drier on this part of the circuit than it is around the back of the circuit. You see a drying line in parts, but still very, very cautious. Easy, clip those lines to have the back end step out. Through 5 again, stay off that curb, then flat out down into 6. Again, braking. Oh, Irvine oversteer, just turning and just trying that a little bit too much. Well, Fisichella now virtually matching Sato's time, 1:47.955, 0.2 of a second away. So a much more experienced and very highly rated Giancarlo Fisichella, somebody who has been suggested is even better than Michael Schumacher. Well, it can't be, because Eddie Irvine's only the driver who is as good as Schumacher. But Irvine certainly using all that experience and knowledge, of course, winning here his first Grand Prix for Ferrari in 1999, and developed into a very mature, particularly as a race driver, an outstanding race driver. Loves qualifying, likes to do that single flying flat out lap.
So we are checking it now.
So Eddie Irvine has dropped down to 5th place because Fisichella has been overtaken by Sato, who's been overtaken by De La Rosa. So one Jaguar is top of the list. Eddie Irvine currently 5th, comes across the start-finish line. Irvine jumps up to 4th place. Rubens Barrichello, I'm not sure quite what he's doing in the car, but certainly getting prepared, the steering wheel off the car and seat belts being attached. It's the job that is impossible for a driver to do. Those engineers dive in and grab the belts, and if they are feeling mean, they give those crutch straps a good old tug just to sharpen the driver up. But the man really we should be watching for is David Coulthard. Coulthard has got kiss in the first. Again, 0.8 of a second quicker than that of De La Rosa. David Coulthard, assuming he gets around 15 and 16 cleanly, and he shouldn't have any problem doing that, is going to put himself right at the top of the times. Some 17 minutes into this session, Coulthard comes down start-finish line, across that start-finish line. Coulthard 1:43.388, and that is a massive, well, 3 seconds faster than Pedro De La Rosa in the Jaguar, Takumi Sato in the Jordan, Fisichella in the Jordan, Irvine in the Jaguar, and Enrique Bernoulli still 6th quickest in the Arrows. Now here's the battle. Michael Schumacher out on track, contemptuous of conditions, on Bridgestone tyres. Rain falling, looks like rain on the lens, maybe that's been there from a little bit earlier. But you need to watch all the time. When these conditions are so changeable, you've got to look around for signals. You've got to see it on your visor. You've got to look around and see, are people putting their umbrellas up? That's just a simple sign to tell you that if you don't see the rain on your visor, there may be rain falling. Well, so far, Michael Schumacher's times on the intermediates have not been anything other than what you'd expect from Michael Schumacher, certainly not at this stage, threatening David Coulthard, currently still quickest on 1:43.388. You hear the traction control coming in, again coming out of turn 16. Traction control, of course, came in last year at the Spanish Grand Prix. Last year, traction control was not permitted in the Australian Grand Prix. That's a big change. When Michael almost overruns in turn 1, has to pull the car back very quickly indeed to get through turn 2. Still went 3rd quickest, 1:45.741. And he's not out there just for a nice Friday morning drive. He will want very quickly indeed to assert the Ferrari and the Bridgestone domination that we came to see last year. As we look at Mark Webber and Enrique Benoldi. Webber first time here, of course, Australian in Australia. Benoldi in the Arrows currently 6th quickest. In fact, he's dropped back down. Felipe Massa, he's now gone 6th in the first of the Saubers. But Mark Webber, just delighted to be a Formula 1 driver, currently 9th quickest. And ahead of his Malaysian teammate, Alex Young, down in 12th. Michael Schumacher, in the meantime, currently 3rd, but has gone quickest in that first segment. Well, 34.805. Discovering that the track is as slippery as the grass, and that was a lucky escape because he just came back on track, got the car checked and avoided going into that barrier. Let's again just watch under braking how slippery it is. Turns in, rides the curb, the back wheel caught the curb, that's what caused the back end to slide out. He put the front wheel up the curb, that's not a problem. He dragged the rear wheel round, which just skipped the back of the car out, and around it went. And Hans Howell will remember that one. So there's the classification. Still David Coulthard, Michael Schumacher, Pedro de la Rosa. Felipe Massa improved to 4th place. Another newcomer, a young man who the Sauber team say is even better in their opinion at this stage than Raikkonen was. But of course, Massa has had some experience. He did a season in Italian Formula 3000. He won that championship last year. He's very highly rated indeed in Italy, and people are suggesting that he could be a candidate for a future Ferrari seat. But one seat that is secure, that's Michael Schumacher on his 5th lap. Once again has gone quickest in that first segment, both in terms of speed and of time. Looking into the BAR garage, and a bit of work going on the back of, probably that's the car. Olivier Panis beginning to prepare himself. Michael Schumacher quickest in the 3rd segment. Improves his time to within 0.6 of a second of David Coulthard. Interesting situation in BAR because you've got Olivier Panis who's coming. Michael Schumacher 1:41.488. That is a massive time, and he's going to be pretty happy with that. As David Coulthard is back in the pits, as is third place Pedro de la Rosa, who's doing a very, very good job, both in testing prior to Australia and so far here this year. Heinz-Harald Frentzen now up to third place in the Arrows with the Cosworth engine, identical engine to that Jaguar have, the Cosworth R3. Looking further down the field, Mark Webber, a fine 13th place in the Minardi. Truly, of course, in the Renault 14th, Heidfeld 15th, and Alex Young down in 17th. Times are changing. McNish, in fact, has leapt up into 12th place in the Toyota. Jenson Button one ahead of him in the lead Renault in 11th. And Jenson Button comes down, brakes heavily down into turn 3. Again, one of these sequence of corners, right, left, and then turn 5, back right. Good corner, turn 5. It's one of those corners you think you can take flat, not in these conditions, but in dry. And it's just one of those corners where the car floats right out to the edge of the track. Whereas in 6, which we just saw Button going through, you've got to really wait to pick up the throttle. If you're too keen, you'll be in trouble. Schumacher's back into the pits, and he'll be fairly happy, I think, with that initial first run. Coulthard second, Frentzen third, De La Rosa fourth, Philippe Massa, very good effort so far in 5th, Sato in 6th, Fisichella 7th, Benoldi 8th, Montoya 9th, and Ervan. We're going to go down to the pits once again to Peter Windsor, who's got the man who's the biggest talker in the pit lane, Eddie Jordan.
First impressions, I hope I heard the question right now. I have to grab you out of the way before I get you run down. Wow, that was close. Yeah, this kid here, young Sato, he's done a good job. He's really got on. He's done the first 12 or so laps, incident-free, which always nice. Bring the car back, complaining about a few things, which is a good sign. Sign of confidence. He's going to be fine.
And the other car?
Giancarlo is obviously doesn't need as many laps to actually find out where the points that he needs to improve are, and so he came in a lot earlier. But the key thing for Taku was that to make sure he learns in case anything went wrong later on this afternoon or indeed tomorrow, that at least the knowledge of the circuit is now not as critical as it was. He should, after the laps he's done, he now should know the track.
Great to talk to you as ever, Eddie, and best of luck.
Whatever. Body back in action in a real job. Good Lord. Well done.
Well, just a quick glimpse of Ralf Schumacher getting it wrong into turn 1 shows you how easy it is. You just brake marginally too late, lose the grip, run wide in the corner, ran over the curb, did a bit of grass cutting, but no damage to the car. Oh, and then somebody's done the very same thing up in turn 1, and it's one of the BARs. We'll try and get a little look and see who that might have been. I think it was Olivier Panis, in fact, that did that. So, in fact, it was. There we are with Olivier Panis. Probably hoped that nobody would have seen it as he comes down into turn 3. 2 cars off in turn 1, nothing serious, just little trips over the grass. Let's look at it again from the onboard. You can see the right front wheel is grabbing, he's lost steering control. He decides just to straighten the car up and let the car run across the grass, the gravel, and the grass here is very, very smooth. It's more like a lawn, so it didn't go like a leap and a jump. No damage to the bodywork. David Coulthard back out on track, trying to make up for some of the time that this man Michael Schumacher stole from him. Schumacher still quickest in that 1:41.488, Coulthard 1:43.388. Coulthard's time personal best in the first segment, but not quickest. And Alex Young getting into all sorts of problems in turn 15. In fact, and there was in this corner one lap earlier, Rubens Barrichello came up behind the young Malaysian, got held up. In fact, there is Barrichello. Barrichello gone third quickest, and that was in spite of losing momentum out of 16 onto the start-finish line. So Barrichello will be looking to find another few tenths on this next flying lap. He's only 0.4 of a second behind David Coulthard, but of course he's 2.3 seconds away from his teammate. Ross Brawn sits and studies those monitors. A very special guy. That look, Mr. Magoo, sometimes you think like Mr. Magoo, sits there, but believe me, that plane never. Well, in fact, looking at Raikkonen, is, well, I don't think he's giving it 100% on this lap. Oh, well, he certainly caught the curb coming through 5, threw the car out to the left, had to correct it. And he's a driver that really does drive on reactions. In the meantime, Jacques Villeneuve, talking to Jock Clear, his engineer, who came with Villeneuve from the Williams team to join BAR. Villeneuve down in 13th place. Olivier Panis, his teammate, currently out on track. But Panis, in fact, not only on track, he's gone up to 5th place, 144.7. So the BAR with the Honda engine, with Panis driving it, seems to have found some grip in circuit conditions, which are right now not easy for the drivers. Of course, everybody's still appearing on wet weather tyres. Mika Salo made a big commitment to the Toyota team. He gave up a full-time seat in 2001 to become the test driver for the Toyota team. Glad to be back racing. He came here last year and watched the race, went away as miserable as sin. He said, I'm a racing driver, I'm not a racing spectator. And here he is back in Australia, and really what an opportunity for once again another Finnish racing driver, one that never has fulfilled the potential of his ability. This is probably going to be his last big chance. He's got to really make this Toyota team come together. He's got an inexperienced teammate in Alan McNish, but Alan McNish has got that steely quality that I've seen in the past so many Scottish racing drivers make it through. Costello currently down in 20th place, got a personal best in both the first and second segments, so expect to see some improvement in his position. Alan McNish 2 places ahead of him in the second of the Toyotas. So Salo some 2 seconds slower than that time from McNish. But you can really see there's not much grip there. He's holding off the throttle, and there's the Jordan. Comes up behind. You can see the difference in speed between the Michelin shod Toyota and the Bridgestone tired Jordan. Salo no improvement in time. But Fisichella pushing much harder, even though he's down in 12th place as well. That last lap, 151.6 from Fisichella, basically just a building time. Expect to see a better time. The car looks very good through turns 4 through 5. Watch it there. It's a corner where if you get it wrong, that barrier just draws you in like a magnet. Down into 6, a little bit of oversteer, turning in again. Everybody tries to hustle through turn 6. You just got to give it time. There's no point in these conditions trying to rush the corner. Break it a little bit earlier, settle the car, get on the throttle and drive the car out of the corner, and you'll pick up time. Good exit out of 9. Now this long sweep through 10 into 11, then that quick change of direction, turning into 11 now, then the quick change of direction through 12, and then all the way up to about 185 miles an hour, then back onto the brakes, where you then make the trip back towards the finish, start-finish straight through turn 13. Fisichella personal best in both those segments, 33.8 in the first, 26.8 in the second. Contrasting to Olivier Panis, who right now is the man who is currently quickest of everybody in segments. And if Olivier Panis continues as he's doing, he's going to be the quickest car on the circuit. Fisichella, 41.4. So, some improvement, but I'm really willing to see the pickup on Olivier Panis. Here he is, coming across the start finish. He's gone quickest, 141.437. In fact, 140.684. 437 was the time for Fisichella, who was quickest, subsequently passed by Panis. Well, for a team that's suffered in the past from disappointing performances, anything like this, even in those conditions, it's probably going to be meaningless by the time you get through to Saturday qualifying and Sunday's Grand Prix. But for the BAR team now being led by Dave Richards, a man who I've got great respect for, certainly if you look back in his history in motorsport and particularly in rallying and World Rally Championship victories, that magic will transform this team. He's a team leader, he's a leader of people, he's hard but fair, and I think that's what's been lacking in the BAR team. And I think in particular for Jacques Villeneuve, his relationship with his former team principal Craig Pollock was a relationship that was too much based on friendship, and also of course Craig Pollock did manage Villeneuve in his earlier days. Now with Dave Richards in control, I would hope to see major strides coming from BAR, and the battle between these two teams, BAR and Jordan, for Honda honours is going to again be one of the highlights of this year's season. Fisichella still in second place, Michael Schumacher still in third, Rubens Barrichello fourth, he's gone back out. Enrique Bernaldi in the Arrows doing a great job in fifth place, David Coulthard in sixth, Raikkonen in seventh, De La Rosa eighth, Ralf Schumacher ninth, and Heidfeld in 10th. What's happening really are lap times are going to drop by the lap as track conditions continue to improve, and more of a drying line is going to appear. And how long is it before somebody is going to take the brave decision to go in and put on a set of dry tyres? One man who might be thinking about it is Juan Pablo Montoya, currently in 16th. But in that second segment, he's just recorded the fastest speed through the speed traps at 292 kilometers. That might be an indication that Montoya has taken a chance and done something a little bit different. Michael Schumacher still on wet tyres, but he's gone quickest in that first segment. Rubens Barrichello was second in the second segment, quickest, but in the space of time saying it, it's now Fisichella. So you've got Panis currently quickest, Fisichella who's made a big improvement, Michael Schumacher who's made a big improvement, Rubens Barrichello has made an improvement. Schumacher quickest in that second segment. Car looks fantastic. I mean, they brought this car here, this is the 2001 car. They didn't do that because they were lacking confidence. They did it because they know they got a very, very quick car, but also a car that had proven reliability. And that's what these first three Grand Prix of the season are all about. You've got to finish, you've got to get those points, you've got to build a championship. Schumacher comes across the start-finish line, and he's back at the top, well, by a bunch, by 1 minute 35.375, Fisichella 1:38.318. So Michael Schumacher really throwing down the gauntlet now. Olivier Panis, who had been quickest, back in third place. Rubens Barrichello in fourth. He's now gone quickest in the first segment. I mean, hard to keep up with what's going on. Juan Pablo Montoya still down in 16th place, still running on those wet tyres. Something. And to some degree underrated. I think a lot of people felt that maybe his win in the Formula 3000 Championship wasn't particularly emphatic, and therefore when he went into Formula 1 his performances were maybe more measured by that than really what he was doing with the Sauber team. And Ralf Schumacher just grabbing that car. We've seen him shave the grass in turn one earlier in the program. So far not doing anything too dramatic. Currently in 15th place. This lap showing a personal best in that first intermediate segment. Coming up to the second segment, we should see some further improvement there. Yeah, another personal best. But it's in the second segment that Rubens Barrichello in the second Ferrari, currently in third place, is the quickest man on the circuit. Montoya's back into the pits. So is Enrique Bernoldi, who's just now dropped back down into 7th place because Nick Heidfeld has made that point. He's third quickest. So Ralf Schumacher and in fact Montoya not really setting the world on fire in the Williams BMW. I heard very early on that Montoya was saying it was very oversteery. Schumacher looking for the damp parts of the circuit to keep those wet weather tyres as cool as possible. 1:38.347, that's a long way back in terms of time, but of course he's jumped up into 5th place. So for the first time he's gone fourth behind his teammate Nick Heidfeld. He's 1/10 of a second away from Heidfeld's time, and Sauber now in third and fourth place. But what's more interesting, you've got two Ferrari engines first and second, and two Ferrari based engines, the Petronas engine, in third and fourth. Well, there we see the first set of groove tyres, not quite slicks, but sometimes referred to as slicks. That is a dry circuit tyre with 4 grooves, symmetrical, not asymmetrical. Well, we're going to go back down to the pit lane. We hope we've got a bit more success, because with Sir Jackie Stewart with Peter Windsor.
Sir Jackie, wonderful to see you, looking so well. Very green, of course. Who are you rooting for this weekend?
Well, I'd like to see Jaguar having some sort of decent start to the season, because they deserve it. They've worked hard over the winter and they've got many problems. I'd like to see Alan McNish doing well, just for Scottish reasons. Montoya, because he drove for us, I'm very enthusiastic about him. But I think it's still going to be a Ferrari-McLaren issue.
What do you think about Ferrari's decision to run last year's car?
I think it's typical Ferrari. It's a good decision in the sense that confident enough to come down here and want to get a good start to the season by picking up World Championship points, where reliability can have such a serious effect on the first race. I think if it had been hot, and it isn't hot just now, that would have been an even more important element, and it's forecast only to be 23 degrees on Sunday. They really should have been praying for a 30-degree race with last year's car that's, you know, well recognised to be good in high temperature. So I think it's still going to be probably a good decision for them.
Wise words indeed. Thank you, Sir Jackie.
Pleasure.
Well, we see Alan McNish. He's out on groove tyres. Being a little bit careful. David Coulthard. There, Ralf Schumacher. He's gone out on groove slicks as well. His teammate is on intermediates. Trying to see what David Coulthard's done. I think he's still either on an intermediate. Can't be in a wet in these conditions. But Alan McNish was certainly the first one that we have seen leave on a set of grooved tyres. But the person to watch out now will... tyres will more than make up for it. Traffic ahead, coming up into 13. Oh, look at that, he's using half the curb. Lots of confidence now, lots of feeling of grip. And I think that Ralf Schumacher will in fact go quickest. Barrichello has actually gone quicker in that last lap, 1:30.213. Ralf Schumacher struggling just to get a bit of bite as he comes onto turn 16 onto start finish straight. That's Ralf Schumacher who goes second quickest. Bernoldi's time did cost him, it cost him half a second in fact between Barrichello. Oh, and there is a problem. Mark Webber. Oh, Alex Young gets out of the Minardi Asia Tech. I think that's probably down around somewhere around 4 and 5, pulled off to the side of the track. And David Coulthard steps out of his car, so probably not going to go back out again. Just 3 minutes and 40 seconds remaining. Rubens Barrichello currently quickest, not satisfied with that, has improved in the first segment, nothing in the second segment. Michael Schumacher, though, down in 4th place, beginning another lap. We need to see what happens in that first intermediate stage. 30.6. That's his first lap out on a set of tyres he's had no experience of. Those are the grooved slicks. Barrichello, the first person to break the 90-second barrier, 1:29.920. Ralf Schumacher still second. Mika Salo third, so Toyota third and fourth, McNish in 4th place. Jacques Villeneuve 5th, Heinz-Harald Frentzen in 6th, McNish in 7th. Let's watch what Michael Schumacher does as he comes up to complete this lap. Quickest in that second segment. Nothing's too startling in the first one, but it should see him leap from 4th, certainly ahead of Salo. Bernoldi, in fact, has gone to 4th place, but Michael Schumacher confirms what we anticipated. 1:29.885, Barrichello second, just a tenth of a second away. We've got 2 minutes 20 seconds remaining. Certainly time for one more lap from both Barrichello and Schumacher. Ralf Schumacher gone back into the pits. Mika Salo still on track, Fisichella still on track, Bernoldi still on track, McNish still on track, Villeneuve still on track, and Jenson Button in the Renault in 9th place, still on track. Frentzen's gone back out, currently in 10th place. Under 2 minutes remaining. Michael once again just emphasises how quick he is, how good the Ferrari is, and how good those Bridgestone tyres are. First segment 29.6. Currently the fastest time shown by anybody. Had to get past one of the Saibers. That was Heidfeld. So Schumacher now comes down, breaks into turn 13. Not too much use of the curve. Wants to be clean, get the power on early. Ooh, slides wide, stays off the curb. Quickest in that sector as well. Michael Schumacher should make this an improvement. 1:29.885 was his current fastest lap. 1:28.804. And, well, 58 seconds remaining. He can still go on and do one more lap. He's gone past the start-finish line before the checkered flag came out, so he's got another. Good enough for 10th place and is not good enough for Juan Pablo Montoya. Barrichello second, was quickest in that second segment, but not quickest overall. Still 2.5 tenths away from teammate Michael Schumacher. Traffic again for Michael Schumacher. He's backed out of it now. He's decided not to bother. As we watch Mark Webber doing everything possible to stay out of the way and doing a very good job doing it. Michael's going into the pits. He's happy with what he's done. Barrichello's the man to watch. He's made an improvement in the first segment, personal best. Kimi Räikkönen, this is his last lap. The session is officially over now, but of course he's allowed to complete this lap because he started it before the flag came out. Kimi Räikkönen having another feel for the McLaren. Well, Heidfeld stops out on the circuit, with Kimi Räikkönen still out on all the way down in 21st place, and that's not what you'd expect from the young Finn. And obviously sitting it out in the pits, 120, 142, so Räikkönen, well, he improves up to 16th place, and I have to say I'm probably surprised that the team haven't gone quicker. They did do early and towards the middle of the session. But Coulthard, he's dropped back considerably, and Räikkönen, well, 17th place, Coulthard in 20th place. They're not going to be too worried because with a bit of luck, the second session, which is in 1 hour's time, will be in, if not dry conditions. Wonders what happened to our... Giancarlo Fisichella in third place. Fine young driver, somebody who really deserves to be in a consistent team and run at the top. Drives really nice. It's something you see about racing drivers. Some have got a feel for a car. They just seem to float a car through the corner. Back in the Jordan team, having spent a couple of years there, and on the one hand I think that maybe disappointed that that's how his career has panned out. He would probably like to have stayed with Renault and worked through that program. But the Jordan team has enormous potential. It's a super team. Maybe not having the best of times right now, late in presenting the car to the public in terms of the press releases. Had some handling problems with the car during the winter testing. Rumours around the designer of the car, Egbert Hamadi. Is he staying with the team? Is he not? He's currently, the team say, on holiday, which of course is a bit of a euphemism. But looking down through the times there, we see the top 10, Montoya squeezing into the top 10, but look at the difference, some 4.1 seconds away from Michael Schumacher. Good effort from De La Rosa and from Massa in particular, also from Fisichella. Salo and the Toyota, good effort as well. Jenson Button will be happy with his time in the Renault, quickest of the Renaults here this morning. Takumi Sato and Manoldi again done good jobs, kept out of trouble. Eddie Irvine, well, I don't know what's going on with Eddie. He's been very relaxed, very laid back in the last few weeks or so, not seen testing very much. Well, we're going back down now to Peter Windsor in the pit lane. And Peter, what do you got to tell us?
Well, I'm with Ove Anderson, head of the Toyota Formula One team. Ove, a very impressive first outing for you. You must be very pleased.
Well, we are pleased, of course. It's the first time ever we have been participating, so we know we have a long way to go, but the cars worked, and that's a good beginning.
How does it feel to be in Formula One? You've got a rallying background, of course, and now you're at the Australian Grand Prix, your debut race.
This is a fantastic challenge for myself and also for the whole team. I mean, many of the guys have been with me for 15, 20 years, and this is an incredible challenge and opportunity for us.
And in the wet this morning, was there any feeling of maybe we shouldn't go out, we should save the cars?
No, we have to take every opportunity to run that we can get.
Well, great performance and best of luck for the rest of the weekend.
Thank you very much.
Well, we're going to have a look back at some of the highlights of that 1 hour session, the first session here in Melbourne, a wet session that ended up drying out to a point where people were able to run on grooved, slick tyres. Looking at Kimi Räikkönen, Juan Pablo Montoya, they all prepare. There's a man, of course, local man, Mark Webber. He's dreamed about this day for so long.